What's up, everyone? This is the Tin Man with the Worldwide Resistance Network. If you are watching this, you are the resistance. And welcome to Tin Man TV. What's up, everyone? This is the Tin Man, and this is Tin Man TV, and this is Milk Monster Blue. The fictitious product that doesn't actually exist because we are crowdfunded. So if you like this video, by all means, hit the like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell on YouTube, share the live, and as always, follow us on Real TWWRN on YouTube, X, and Rumble. Helps get the word out there. And also check out our online store. The link is in the description. I do that every time. And as always, feel free to join in the conversation. This is not just about me, this is not just about the guests, but this is about you. You are the resistance. So by all means, share the live feed and participate. Joining me today is my good buddy Wade Needham from ringscoops.com. And no, we are not discussing wrestling today, oddly enough. Give you a little bit of backstory to my buddy Wade here. We have been friends since we were kids. It's been his lifelong passion to get into the wrestling business, and through varying circumstances, dreams almost got derailed, but instead of giving up, this man had a fire. It lit a fire under his ass. He not only got into the wrestling business, but has re-enlisted in college again and again and again, having multiple degrees in various areas of media and law and other areas as well. This man is a tank of a man in terms of his accomplishments. And if you want to know where I got the name Tin Man and where the intro actually came from, you are looking at the mastermind right there. So thank you again, Wade, for all that. And I hope the introduction did you justice. By all means, feel free to fill in the blanks of anything I may have missed, sir.
I appreciate the kind words and everything, and I'm very humbled. And I thank you so much for having me as a guest on your show here. But I have to make one slight correction here. Okay, I did the intro. Yes, you're the one that came up with the name of the Tin Man. I was just the one that got it to stick as a nickname.
Yeah, a little bit of backstory there. I was doing the rap game years ago with Lucid, and one song that I did was Tin Man, which was kind of a Wizard of Oz take on an ICP song called Toy Box from the Riddle Box album. That I took a great deal of inspiration there. And Wade liked the song so much, he dubbed me the Tin Man. And then when he brought me into the wrestling business, that's what everybody knew me as. And I just kind of rolled with it at that point. I'm like, okay, I'm the Tin Man. I'm just gonna roll with it. So
it fits. Yeah, I think Tin Man. I think you instantly. Like, I feel weird if I call you by your real name now. Nowadays.
Right. Yeah, just like you, the webmaster. I mean, you are the webmaster.
I try to be. I mean, I'm not really into the whole webmaster web design game so much anymore nowadays. I gave that up a long time ago, but I still know my way around the web.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've done a lot of video production work. Like we said, also you're in college, having pursued multiple degrees in multiple fields, multimedia, radio, most recently contractual law. Am I correct on that?
Not really contractual law. When I was studying legal studies at Mount St. Anselm College, my primary focus was elder law. So, kind of focusing a little bit on trusts, estates, elder abuse, that kind of stuff, because a lot of older folks they get taken advantage of really easy, and they need somebody in their corner. And I just felt like that was the right thing to do. But I also want to preface too and let everybody know that I am not a lawyer. I have not gone to law school. It's only an associate's degree in legal studies. So the highest thing that I can do in law is document preparation and possibly get a job as a paralegal.
Okay, okay. Yeah, we definitely do not want to misrepresent, especially in terms of the legal system. Like, no, this man is not a member of the bar,
No,
but
no.
hey, you could definitely give him a run for their money in terms of his intellect. I would say.
I do my best. I'm 6 units away from my master's degree in communications and media, and then afterwards, I'm going for my doctoral in educational leadership. So,
Okay, and so you're in university right now. What can you tell us in terms of the atmosphere at your school?
wow. Okay, so I am attending California State University in San Bernardino. It is a very, very blue liberal school. They've had, I believe, Hillary Clinton has visited the school in the past. I want to say Kamala Harris had been there before. I could be wrong, but I know like it's very liberal. It's very very blue. Huge Hispanic. What's the term? I'm drawing a blank here.
Populous,
I'm sorry.
populous, as far as the
Yeah,
online campus roster goes.
pretty much. Yeah, absolutely. I think like more than 70% of the students there have a Hispanic background.
Okay.
Um,
That's not
and
uncommon in
I,
California.
I'm not saying that as like any kind of knock or as a praise or anything like that. I'm just saying statistically, is demographically, it's just school
Yeah,
background.
it is what it is.
Um, it is what it is. Yeah. It's cool. A lot of friends over there, man. International students come here a lot. A lot of Korean students are there. A lot of students from Asia. There's a couple from Europe that I've met. Fantastic people. I myself try not to get too involved in the political environment there on campus, because I know that politics, it could be
It doesn't
a
make good for
division.
dinner conversation.
Exactly. And me, especially over the years, I've mellowed out quite a bit, a lot more. I was a lot passionate, it's like 20, 30 years ago, but now I'm like more go with the flow kind of thing. So like, unless like I'm going to lose sleep over it, I'm not going to bother arguing for or against anything like that. Uh,
Yeah, that
I
was
just
actually going to be
focus.
my next question.
Okay. What's that?
That was going to be my next question. Like I know that you're kind of right leaning, so like how has the atmosphere been towards you regarding anybody that might know your political leanings?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say that I'm right leaning. I am more of an independent, as centralist. I do kind of go a little bit to the right, but there are times that I see some good stuff in the left side. I pick and choose what I'm good at. I'm not the kind of person that's like all right, cool, if I'm registered as this, I only follow that and nothing else. Like, I will go against my party. I'm a registered libertarian. When I first registered, when I was 18, I was Republican up until 2012. And then I was Green Party from 2012 until 2 years ago. And then I switched over to Libertarian Party because it just naturally just fit with the progression of, my maturity and personality over the years. But yeah, like I
You're a
try
free
not to get
thinker.
too involved in it.
For the most part, you would say you're a free thinker. You don't. There are some things you would agree with the left on, and there's some things you would agree with the right on. There's some things that you would agree with neither one of them on.
Absolutely, absolutely. I don't jump on a bandwagon. I'm my own guy. If somebody does, regardless of party, if they've got a good idea, it's a good idea. I mean, I'm not gonna
Exactly.
fucking say it's not a good idea just because my party says it's not.
Absolutely, absolutely. And unfortunately, a lot of people they want to put you in that box and go, "Oh, well, you're talking like a Republican or you're talking like a Democrat." I was at the No Kings protest and I got labeled a right winger because I brought up George Soros because they were asking me, it's like, oh, why are you on this side of the fence? Why are you doing this? What you're doing. I'm like, okay, well, I'm here to cover this, this, and this. This are some of the issues that we hear about. Oh, well, you sound like a Republican, blah, blah, blah. And, they went back across the street and wouldn't talk to me anymore. And, some people came over and started walking back and forth, mad dogging me. And I'm like, oh, crap.
Yeah, that's
Because they
unfortunate,
want to
man.
put you in that box.
Yeah, nowadays, nobody can see a gray area. Everybody's like, you're either on one side or the other side. It's like today's society is 100% on the fallacy of either or. They don't see in between anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And California is very left leaning, at least on paper, but I'm finding more and more that there is an overwhelming populace that would be not necessarily right leaning, but not wholeheartedly in agreement with a left or even a far left narrative.
Mm-hmm.
So, and one of the reasons like that you and I were talking about you coming onto the show was what happened with Prop 50. You and I were talking behind the scenes while Revan and I were streaming the election results. And you were actually very outspoken about the results of that electoral vote. Not to put words in your mouth, but go ahead and just give us kind of a recap of that conversation and your thoughts on the Prop 50 and the subsequent results.
Yeah, no problem. It's very simple. I'll just lay it out there as it is. What you see is what you get with me. Um, I was against Prop 50, not because I don't care about fair elections or anything like that, but I just think that we weaken the democratic safeguards and empower politicians to rig maps for short-term gain instead of actually addressing, structural issues.
Yeah. And Californians actually due to redo their maps in a few years, but they wanted to jump the gun because the Supreme Court said that Texas needed to redraw their maps because they hadn't done it previously when they were supposed to have done it.
Right. Yeah. No. It undermines an independent redistricting. Um, Texas did it without a vote. I don't agree with that at all. I think they should have had a vote if they wanted to do it, like California did. But that's a different topic for another thing. We're talking about California. We're talking about Prop 50. Yeah. We're not talking about Texas. So,
yeah, just to clarify, Texas was ordered by the courts. They were ordered by a district judge because they hadn't done it at their appointed time. They didn't redistrict at the appointed time, so they were told by a judge, "You have to do your redistricting."
Right.
And California took it as what you had just described. It's like, oh, well, they took it upon themselves without a vote.
Yeah, California's reaction was, if you could do it, we can do it. And
yes,
like that's child's play, man. California, they set up an independent commission to do this precisely to remove politics from the process. And Prop 50 temporarily suspends that system and hands the map drawing back to the legislature. And those are the very actors with incentives to gerrymander.
Exactly. And for those who don't understand the dynamics of what happened with this redistricting, with a biased political party, they're going to redraw the maps in their favor. And one of the biggest issues was with the migrant influx. Now, whether or not those people are voting is irrelevant. If you have a high population in a certain area, maps are going to be redrawn to favor those particular areas.
Right.
And the consensus is they want to give, instead of making it fair, if you take the unbiased middleman out of the equation and do it yourself, you're going to you're going to rig the game in your favor. So that's why a lot of people are worried about it, because you can have 10 people to this district and 10 people to that district, or say 10 people in this district and 5 people in that district, but there's 5 people and one of them's a voter and one of them happens to be a Republican, but you have District A that has 10 people but only has 2 registered voters and they're both Democrats. That's kind of how they're playing the ball. They're playing it based on populace rather than registered voters, which makes for an unbalanced political table.
Right. Having the politicians draw in their own districts, that's a conflict of interest.
It is.
As a registered libertarian, I can tell you one of the core values of the political party is we value power checks. So giving legislators direct control on the maps that they're going to run, it weakens accountability, and it definitely invites self-serving outcomes, and that's just not a good thing.
Absolutely. And another big thing that I noticed, I don't know if you were watching the polling results, but the second 8 o'clock hit, the polls closed at 8 o'clock, with the exception of people who are already waiting in line. But they called that election at 8 o'clock on the dot.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
That's nothing new in journalism. I mean, Dewey, right? Dewey wins. We all know that famous photo of, the newspaper up in the air. You can't call shit until it's actually in, and it happens all the time, man. I think it's ridiculous. Nobody wants to actually report news nowadays. They want to manage news. And what I mean by that is it's a public image issue in news. Everybody's quick to rush to get the headlines out there. We are reverting back to the whole extra, read all about it, where they would release 5 different issues of the same newspaper in one day, and all they would do is just change one little tiny thing. And that's what nightly news does now. We can always get our news in just 2 hours once a night. But no, it starts at like 5 p.m. It goes all the way up to like 11 p.m. until the talk shows happen. And then, the late night talk shows, they've got their own agendas and that kind of stuff, but they just repeat with themselves over and over and over. And that's a dangerous thing right there.
It is. Wanting to be on top of the stories and get the exclusive kind of becomes a double-edged sword, especially if you jump the gun and go, oh, so-and-so won the election, but then all the votes are counted and maybe the opposite happened, and then you have to publish a retraction. And if you don't and you continue to run with the narrative, then your credibility is shot.
Absolutely. And I think there's a fine line nowadays too that people, especially in the journalism business, is it's a very blurred line between calling an election and saying what the projected winner could be.
Yes,
Yeah. It's all in
absolutely. But
language.
it did seem pretty suspicious. There's been a lot of arguments, especially after today, with the Trump administration dropping all those bombshells that there was election meddling in the 2020 election, with in varying areas of electoral fraud and election meddling and so on and so forth within the election process itself, remotely controlling the polling machines, misprinted size ballots, alleged ballots that were already pre-filled out for Biden being flown in from China. Just a whole mess of stuff came out today. That's actually been talked about for many, many years, but now is actually coming out. Um, what would you say in terms of what is California's consensus? Do they think that this election with the Prop 50 was a rigged game, or do you think that it was a fair election? Like, is what are Californians' thoughts as to the outcome of this election, and especially in conjunction with the allegations of supposed leftist interference?
Um, I think how we got to having Prop 50 up to be voted on, I think is suspicious. And we already talked about that too. You know, the reason why it was done. As far as like the election process or the voting goes for the prop itself, I don't know if there was any meddling in that or not. California is definitely a huge blue state. The results didn't surprise me. I don't think that if there was any meddling in it, I don't think it would have changed the outcome no matter what. Uh, I think it is a very real outcome. I think the majority of California residents wanted Prop 50 to be passed because of, it being a very liberal state.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask is because in initial polls, the majority of Californians, at least by way of these polls, seemed to be in opposition to Prop 50 because of the points you've made.
Well, what polls were they? How many people were polled? Where were they polled? I mean, that kind of information matters a lot too. If you ask 10 people, like if you go to California State University, San Bernardino, you ask 10 people, you're more than likely going to get 100% of liberal blue response. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And it would be skewed. Stats would be off on that. Your sample size and your demographic where you pull from, that matters. California's a big state. It's a lot of people in California.
Absolutely. What is the current population in California right now? Do you know off chance?
I have no idea.
I know they've got a very large population, and statistically, reports came out recently. They've got the highest unemployment rate, mostly because of the overpopulation that they have.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, there's just more and more people coming in every day, especially considering California is right on the border, and you do have the high population of Latino Americans. Nothing against Latinos, but a lot of those people came here through the California Tijuana border, whether legally or illegally, irrelevant.
Right.
Most of California's Latin community came from that point.
Right. That's information I don't know of. I don't really seek news or information about that kind of stuff anyway, so I couldn't really give a fair comment, to be honest.
I know what you were going to say there. I think we all know.
What?
Yeah. You were going to say you don't give a fuck there, right? I heard it.
No,
I got it.
I'll be honest. I mean, yeah. I mean, certain things I don't give a shit about. I mean, I know my personal own story. Like, I have a foreign fiance, but
Yeah.
I didn't like hide her in a suitcase and bring her back from Manila last time I was out there in March. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, you would have if you could have.
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, she is tiny enough to fit in that fucking thing, but. I could lure her in there by leaving a trail of fucking rice on the ground, and just throw in the suitcase. But, it'd be easy, right? But you know me, I don't take the easy way in life because life never gave me the easy way to begin with. So the only thing I know is play by the rules, suck it up, be a man, and fucking, truck forward. And that's what we did in January when we filed our K-1 visa. And actually, I got good news, breaking news. I don't know if I told you this or not, but I got an email this morning. The National Visa Center has sent our case to the U.S. Embassy in Manila. So we are at that final stage. We are ready to schedule the interview in just a couple of days.
Okay, awesome. And just to clarify to the audience, he's looking to either bring her here or you move there.
No, we're bringing her here.
Okay.
It would be so I wouldn't even have to go through this kind of hoo-ha. I could book a plane ticket, go tomorrow, and have a 6-month visa and get married in the process there. And then, like, probably within 90 days of the marriage, like, start the immigration process for me. It's way different here in the States. Like we had to
Yeah, there's a
file.
lot of red tape that you got to go through to get somebody in the states and
Right.
get them a citizenship. And
Yeah,
that's one of the biggest grievances that the left have is that the immigration process is so long and convoluted.
it is. But, with patience comes good things,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Shawn Michaels said that to Vince McMahon in 2006. And look at what happened. It's good. We were patient, and Vince McMahon finally got the axe.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of. One of the things I did want to interview you on, well, initially was the Vince and Trump relationship, but we're not really going to get into that. Maybe another time if you're available. But
Absolutely.
yeah, because you were working in the business. I would love to hear some of the insight that you might have in terms of as a researcher. But again, that's an interview for another time.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're open to it after my master's thesis defense, I would love to come on the show and actually do a variation of my defense or
Yeah, absolutely.
presentation of it, because it is a very it is a politically dynamic thesis that I'm working on. It's a thematic analysis about the speaking out movement in pro wrestling in 2020, which was pretty much wrestling's version of Me Too. So there's a lot
Yes.
of power dynamics, systemic abuse over the years and whatnot. And of course, Vince McMahon related, to his relationship with like Donald Trump. I didn't mention Trump or anything like that in my thesis, but Vince McMahon, like Jim Cornette always says, Vince McMahon is a likable Donald Trump. That's his words.
And that's hard to believe considering he's always played the bad guy on camera. And, his behind the scenes antics really didn't help his cause there.
No, the funny thing is, I mean, just like with a guy like Joey Ryan, we find out years later that the presentation really wasn't that far from the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Sick individuals out there, man. Sick individuals.
yeah, absolutely. And we've seen a lot of that, but we will save that for your thesis once that comes
Yeah.
out. Do we have a timetable on that?
My first draft was sent over to my committee chair a few weeks ago. She told me she wouldn't be able to read it and get back to me until after grades are posted, which are supposed to be this week. So sometime, hopefully around the new year, I'll hear feedback. And since I'm taking the thesis course and enrolled in it, I defend the thesis in either February, March, or April of my choosing. I'm preferring to do it in March because it gives me an extra month over February, but it also gets it done before spring break.
Okay. Awesome. I look forward to reading that and also getting you on camera in regards to that. That's going to be huge, especially considering Linda McMahon working for the Trump administration and also the history of Trump and also the way WWE has run things, especially during the time of the Attitude Era and also the subsequent scandals that came out over the past few years. So that's
Yeah.
going to be huge. I'm really looking forward to that.
And my thesis covers all of that. It goes all the way back to the 80s. So,
Oh wow!
oh, I did a deep dive, man. Thematic analysis, bro.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. And I also
Oh,
want
you
to
want
say,
to know wrestling? This is your guy.
since you brought up Linda McMahon, I just want to make a little side comment. During Trump's first administration, I had no problem with her role in the government. It was fitting. I mean, who else can you get to run the small business, division of that than somebody like Linda McMahon, who her and Vince started the company in the 80s or after Vince bought it from his dad. They had 15 employees and they turned it into what it is today, right? Anybody
Yeah.
knows business, it's them. The second one, education. I know she has a history. She was on the school board and all that kind of shit, but so what? I took a good piss earlier today. I'm not a urologist.
Yeah, I would definitely say that in many regards, and I've spoken about this in the past. One of my biggest caveats with Trump in his administration is he has people around him who aren't necessarily the best people for the job, whether because they're undercutting him or whether they're just not the right fit.
Right.
And Linda McMahon, as talented as she is, may not be one of those people, at least in this area.
Yeah, not in this current role. No, I disagree with her being in it.
Yeah. I mean, unless your goal is to perhaps just body slam and dismantle the education system, which, as it stands, I can't necessarily say that I am wholly against it. I mean, I like education, I like learning, I like the idea of people being able to learn and grow and progress. You know, the initial intention of
Right.
what we were sold education was, but again, the politics in it. That's where it becomes a problem.
And there's a lot of politics in the classroom too, and I've experienced it myself during my time at CSUSB. I'm not going to name professors, but there have been classes that I've taken where professors heavily hint and lean and throw their political views into their lectures, and it's a huge turnoff. And for those that do have opposing views, when it becomes a turnoff, then you don't listen to the lecture, and then you don't learn anything. And whose fault is that? It's the professors.
Yeah.
So they're not doing their job.
Would you care to elaborate on, the types of things like they would bring up? I mean, you don't have to quote
Like
the lectures word for word, but
no, but I
some
mean,
bullet points, maybe.
maybe my opinion on it might be skewed just a tiny bit because like I noticed it a lot last year, and it was an election year. But still, regardless if it's election year or not, you don't have to bring that shit into a classroom or a lecture or anything like that. But no, there was like professors would like they would say something about like a communication theory or something like that, and then they would bring up a politician of today and say, "Oh yeah, this person is a bad person because they do this and they weaponize this kind of theory and that kind of stuff."
Okay.
Yeah,
And you see that a lot, especially during the election years in your college courses.
yeah, this past year definitely. Yeah.
Okay. What about prior to that? You've been going to school for a while.
I have. Yeah.
Would you say you've seen an increase in the energy output of politics being meddled with your education?
In the last 10 years, yes.
Yeah.
And if you go back to what changed in 10 years, what happened 10 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
Quite a few things.
Well, I can think of one thing that happened in the summer of 2015. A certain somebody saying, "I'm going to run for president."
Yeah.
But that kind of changed everything right there.
Yeah. I mean, when somebody like that decides, oh, I'm not running for president from the 80s through the 90s, and then out of the blue, I'm running for president and I'm running against the party that I had been the entire time. That was definitely that was definitely a hard left for a lot of people. It was like, wait a minute, the
Right. No pun
Democrat is
intended.
running as a Republican after he said for years he wasn't never going to run. Wow.
Well, what was that quote that he's famous of saying? Like, if he was going to run for president, he'd run as a Republican because they were stupid or something like that.
I am not familiar with the quote, but I don't doubt that something like that would have come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
He
I mean,
was.
I don't know
Was it
the
Vince or
veracity of it.
him that started the quote "controversy creates cash"? Was it him or Vince?
Oh, that was Eric Bischoff.
Well, we could definitely say that both individuals understand the dynamic of controversy creates cash.
Well, the thing about Donald Trump is Donald Trump, like both campaigns, he pulled a huge page out of the playbook of professional wrestling.
He did.
And that's where he got where he is right now. He knows the psychology to get behind people, to get under their skin. He's the master of branding. I'll say this, man. Branding is something I learned from him. And look at me, right? Everywhere I go, you got ring scoops somewhere. You got ring scoops on the mic right here. I have a license plate on my power chair that says ring scoops. Everywhere, like my nameplate here on the screen says ring scoops. I play video games. My username is ring scoops. My Xbox gamer tag is ring scoops. Branding is everything. I learned that from Donald Trump.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there's no denying that you can take good. I mean, even if somebody is a bad person per se, there's still
Right.
something to be learned and applied.
Yeah, I mean, there's things that I disagree with about, Donald Trump, his administration, that kind of stuff. I may not be vocal about it, but I'm also not vocal about the stuff that I support him on. It just, and with any other politician or elected official either. I mean, it's not just him. I mean, there's other
Yeah.
people too. But
You're kind of like Gene Simmons in that regard. They asked him recently, what did he think about the way Trump's handling things, and he goes, "What the fuck do you care?"
I mean, I'm personally not a fan of Gene Simmons. I don't know the context or the situation of what you're talking about, but yeah.
He was just interviewed and they asked him on the spot, and he goes, "What do you care? It used to be back in the day, you go behind a curtain and you vote anonymously. Now everybody wants to know, who do you vote for? What do you support? Blah blah blah. Who cares? What business is it of yours?"
Yeah, and news and media plays a big part in that, and you can trace that all the way back to 1987 when the Reagan administration got rid of the fairness doctrine, which allowed a
Yes.
lot of right wingers like Rush Limbaugh and stuff like that to flourish, and you didn't have to provide an equal amount of both sides on a broadcast anymore. And then what changed the game even more was in 1996 when Bill Clinton introduced the Telecommunications Act, and that allowed big conglomerates to go into tiny markets, buy them up, and then you had media ownership become a huge issue.
Yeah, media ownership based on political bias. It's like, okay, I'm I'm this company. I vote this way.
Yeah,
I own you, media company. You're going to say and do what suits my political views,
exactly.
or you're not going to
And
work for
that's
me.
exactly, and that's why today we have the CNN versus Fox News people. I'm an AP News guy. I read my shit. I don't watch it, and I go from a neutral area. AP News, that's my thing right there.
Yeah, I've
I'm
always
trained
spoken
in
on
AP News.
neutrality. Yeah, I've always
Yeah,
spoken on neutrality. I don't know that much about AP News. I've never really followed them that much. I'm more for the independent political activists, especially in that regard. But even a lot of that seems to be political bias instead of just straight down the middle. And that's
right.
what I try to be, is just shoot straight down the middle and be like, okay, let's just focus on the facts.
Yeah, no, same here. I'm right down the middle as much as I can possibly be, and I want my news the same way. The interesting thing is, as we were discussing earlier when you mentioned that I slightly lean a little bit to the right, AP News actually leans just a tiny bit to the left, but I still respect them because, for the most part, they are right down the middle. The Associated Press. I mean,
Yeah.
journalism is based off of Associated Press. You write newspapers and news and that kind of stuff, AP style. You're
Yeah.
trained in that kind of stuff. It's a certain thing, it's a certification almost without official certification.
Well, you said you've take taken college courses and gotten degrees in communications and
Yeah.
multimedia and whatnot. Had you ever considered a career as maybe part of the press, at least, and maybe in terms and in a particular field, like maybe wrestling?
Well, yeah. During my undergrad, that was a huge thing. There was a very small period of time where I let like my brand Ring Scoops kind of lapse a little bit, where I just was focusing on my work in the wrestling business itself. I stopped doing podcasts and shows. But when I went and transferred to my undergrad for the bachelor's degree in 2016, and I started taking a lot of journalism courses, and I was writing for the school paper. And around that time, the show, The Newsroom, came out, on HBO, and that like reinvigorated my journalistic spirit. And there was a period of time there where Ring Scoops was like it wasn't a dirt sheet, it was a legitimate news organization. And sad thing is there wasn't really that much news because in wrestling it's very hard to confirm news, and I would not put anything out there that I could not confirm. So
Yeah.
that was one of my biggest weaknesses, was I was trying to play it fair, where in dirt sheets you hear, oh, so and so is doing this, then they report on what somebody says on a message board and they run with it, and I don't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there was a certain period of time there that I wanted to do that.
Yeah, especially can it be in particularly difficult to sometimes confirm third party sources in regards to what's going on behind or in front of the curtain.
There's a lot of rumors and wrestling. There's rumors and everything. There's gossiping, chismis as we call it in the Philippines. A lot of gossiping going around, rumors, that kind of bullshit, in wrestling. So it's hard to know if something is truthful or not.
Yeah.
Because it's an industry built on what's called kayfabe. And for those that don't know out there, that don't know what kayfabe is, it's kayfabe is like a term for like protection of a gimmick or a story or something like that. Like let's say theoretically, let's say Tin Man and I, on screen are having beef with each other, but then we go out afterwards to a bar and have a drink and talk about how people watching the show were like, holy crap, like I'm on this guy's side, I'm on this guy's side. We're keeping kayfabe. That's what kayfabe is. And that comes from the carnival days where people in the circus and carnivals, they would travel around and they would make a collect call back home, a collect call from Kayfabian. And then the family would hang up the phone, and that was their way of saying I made it to the next town safely.
Okay. I did not know that. See, learn new things every day. I mean,
Back in the day when I used to pirate software, I would register all my software as Kayfabian.
And 5 hours later, the cops show up at his dorm.
Oh, that was over a decade ago. So I'm statute of limitations, I think, ran out on that.
Right. There you go.
Yeah. Plus, the current copy of Photoshop that I have is registered and purchased, and same as Vegas Pro. So I'm good on that. There you go. Now.
Right. That's why I still buy movies, man, because I could go online and watch them for free and on some sites or whatever. But I like having the physical copy. I like supporting the brand. If I like something, I'm going to support it.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. I mean, I don't do physical media anymore, but like just yesterday, I bought 3 new movies on freaking Fandango at home.
Yeah. Yeah, because if you don't support the brand, then the brand's going to lose money and it's not going to be around. Yeah. And same with wrestling. That's how it got so big, was its merchandising and profits, not only on television, but ticket sales, pay-per-views, shirts, toys, whatever. But in terms of like kayfabe, I'm glad you brought up kayfabe.
Right.
And playing up the part and playing the part of a character, heel versus face and all of that. In the terms of politics, from a wrestling perspective, especially an insider's perspective, does it, at least this kind of feels this way to me, and I have wanted to get your opinion on this for some time. Does it kind of feel like the whole Republicans versus Trump thing kind of feels like a put on and just kind of a story arc? Kind of seems like something out of that you would see in WWE.
Republicans versus Trump?
No, like Democrats versus Trump.
Oh, Democrats. Just, okay, because you said Republicans. That's why I was confused.
I'm sorry. I meant Democrats. See,
I mean, I know in the early days Republicans did oppose them a lot, but then they kind of just fit in. But
yeah, but like the atmosphere, does it just kind of feel WWE, face versus heel kind of thing?
No, absolutely. Here's a comparison right off the top of my head that I can make, and it most likely is going to be from the viewpoint of a Democrat. Not that I am, but Democrats have always had the persona of being blue collar, hardworking people, whereas Republicans were more like white collar, New York people and that kind of stuff, right? And Democrats were like the Southern people, like Bill Clinton and shit like that, right? So if you look at it at that perspective, and you have a whole group of people like Democrats, and you got the one person, Trump, who's on top calling the shots, and they don't like it. That's Mr. McMahon versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Exactly. That's kind of how it feels.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is.
And at which
I think that
point,
narrative works best in this situation, Democrats versus Trump, as opposed to Republicans versus Obama. That comparison, like Obama,
yeah,
it was nothing like Vince McMahon or Mr.
there was
McMahon, the
nothing.
character.
Yeah, and there was not that level of tension that there is now. I mean,
No,
the
not at all.
level of
No, because
tension
Trump
and the
antagonizes
energy
people for
is
the fun of
insane.
it. That's the thing.
Yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah.
he's the master.
It almost feels scripted. It almost feels like I'm watching Attitude Era WWE Vince McMahon versus Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Right. And you
And
remember in the Attitude Era, there was that short period of time where Vince turned babyface when the
I
Ministry of
remember,
Darkness came in and Undertaker was stalking Stephanie, right? And Vince turned face. Everybody had sympathy for him, right? Because people like parents, they don't want to see their kids get kidnapped and abducted and that kind of stuff, right? So Vince turned to Stone Cold as a savior, and Stone Cold saved the day. But then Vince turned heel again, revealed himself as the higher power, and I kind of like that's what it feels like with this whole like with the Donald Trump thing, right? Trump
yeah,
came in his first administration, it was the early days of Austin versus McMahon, but then here comes Biden, the Ministry of Darkness, and Trump goes away for a little bit, and he starts to kind of get a little bit of momentum as 2024 is coming back. Then there's the attempted assassinations. Not saying that they were staged or anything. I just want to get that out there. I'm just mentioning as a timeline point. And Trump comes back.
you're describing how it feels.
Exactly. He wins the election, and then like when
And
he
then pops
starts
up,
to
it's
do
me,
his
Austin.
exactly the first executive order he signs, right, is like revealing the mask, and he's like heel again, and people hate him, and
Yeah,
it's just funny that way. It's just an observation comparing to
yeah,
media. I'm not a politician. I'm not a lawyer. Nothing like that. I study media. Media is my thing.
yeah.
So I compare everything to professional wrestling. All my papers are professional wrestling. My mom asked me the other day. She goes, "Why do you always write about wrestling in school?" I said, "Mom, would you go up to my committee chair and say why do you always write about media in Turkey?" Why? And she said no. And I said, "Why would you ask me that? That's my specialty. You write what you know. You study what you know."
Exactly.
Not a lot of scholars in academia touch up on professional wrestling. I grew up watching professional wrestling. My life, my view on life is heavily influenced by that.
Yeah,
And so by learning a lot of these different frameworks, feminist theory, social media movements, and that kind of stuff, and I apply it to professional wrestling, I actually get a better like grasp on life itself that way because wrestling's all I know. You watch Top Gun Maverick, and he always says, "Maverick, I don't like that look on your face." And he goes, "It's the only look I got. Professional wrestling's all I got." So if I can learn from that, I'm going to learn from it. It's the
yeah.
best
Which is
way I can
why I
do it.
wanted to get you on, especially to cover the Trump Vince McMahon thing, which we'll cover another time. But
Right.
again, that's why I wanted you on because you look at things from that angle, and even just in on the topic here and the Prop 8 and the propaganda and the push, and it just kind of feels like a give and take. It's like, okay, sometimes the heel wins, sometimes the face wins. It kind of feels like this back and forth tug of war WWE type spectacle almost. It's almost like it's for show. And that's why I did kind of want to ask you, especially in terms of the Prop 50 election. It's like, am I the only one who makes this observation because I'm in the business? Or,
I think
as
there's
are
a
people
small
noticing this?
handful of people in the world that probably get the same thing that you and I are talking about. Very small.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people love wrestling. So I'm sure that, especially with the audience that they have nowadays, people
Yeah.
can look at this and go, yeah, I can kind of see the correlation here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it kind of makes me wonder, are we getting legitimate politics or are we getting a show?
I think we're getting a mix of it. I think we're getting shitty politics with a show, with a shit show.
And I won't argue that point, man. That it is definitely a shit show, and it's been quite a ride to say the least, just like the Attitude Era.
The funny thing is, I remember during the 2016 election, there was a thing going around online that I thought was funny, and I actually subscribed to it. I liked it. Was the 2016 presidential election was like getting out of a giant relationship that was toxic, and you're just like, you know what? I just want some me time. I don't want anybody. And when 2016 came around, and we were like, all right, these are the three people we got. I don't want any of them. I just want time to ourselves. Give us 4 years of anarchy. At least that'll be all right, you know?
That would be interesting. I don't think they'll ever allow that to happen, but
Nah.
I'm definitely not opposed to that. And for those who don't understand what anarchy is, it's not chaos, it's not lawlessness, it's just the absence of government. It's self-governance.
And you know what the funny thing is, let's tie that into some my specialty, right? They talk about what you know, right? What you know, communications, frameworks, right? Jeremy Bentham, philosopher, came up with something called the panopticon. Do you know what the panopticon is?
I do not. Please explain.
All right, so the panopticon is you have a tower in the center of a property, right? And a big freaking tower. And then you have gel cells surrounding the tower, and there's like a little space in between. And the gel cells, it's only one layer, and it's just enough covering in front of the door where when you look out, you can't see who's in the watchtower, but you know there's a watchtower there. And all the gel cells have the doors open, but there's nobody in the watchtower, but nobody leaves their cells.
Hmm.
That's the panopticon. That's anarchy.
Hmm.
You don't have anybody watching
Thought of
you.
it
You're
that
just
way.
going on a trust issue.
I had never honestly thought of that. That is fucking genius, man. I gotta have you on more often.
Jeremy Bentham also came up with the greater good theory. If it benefits the greater good, even if it's something bad, like for instance, you know, the theoretical question that everybody asks in a lifetime: if you can go back in time and shoot Hitler before he took over, would you do it? That would be the greater good theory, right? How many lives would you save by knocking off the one guy, even though murder is bad?
Yeah.
Yeah. Read up on him. Jeremy Bentham. Very good philosopher.
I'm gonna have to look into that. Thank you, Wade. Okay, so backtracking, you said you had a lot of notes. Is there anything in particular that you would like to point out or address in regards to these topics?
I mean, we already kind of talked a little bit about like Prop 50 was framed as a response to Texas, right? It doesn't fix any systemic issues going on. It's a temporary map that benefits one side. And real fairness, I don't think it should be flipped on political swings like that. I think it was a waste of money. Special elections, map overhauls, that costs money, man, millions of dollars. That money can go towards public safety, infrastructure. You know, like here in town, like we need sidewalks. We need sidewalks for people in wheelchairs, people with canes, with walkers, with parents with strollers. You know, we need better bus stops. You know, we need stuff for the homeless. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
using budget pressure as a justification, we shouldn't be playing political gymnastics that way. That's just my thought.
kind of kind of weaponization of the money right there a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely. It's like a single parent, you know, using the kid as a weapon against their ex.
kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
And I noticed that a lot in California. And
Yeah.
California is kind of its own creature in many regards. I mean, I grew, I like you grew up in California. That's what I knew. But when I got out and even just explored other countries, like when you and I went to Texas for WrestleMania,
Yeah.
totally different environment, totally different people. And then me moving across the state and meeting people in varying states and how they live and how they interact and how their communities operate. It's it's night and day. It's they're very different environments than what you would get in California. And you get around quite a bit. What would you say in terms of the atmosphere in California and how how they are. Just because I really can't articulate it as probably as well as you could in describing to say an outsider what it's like to be in California.
Ah, man. You know, I
What is
don't
that
know if
world like?
I don't know if I can really answer that honestly, because I would say like in the last, decade or so, I've spent a lot of time in school. I put my head down, I trucked through it. We went through the pandemic. I don't really socialize that much unless I have to. Like I've socialized more in the last 2 years at school, not because I necessarily wanted to or was inspired to do it, but because of the nature of my job. I'm a resident assistant in student housing. You have to socialize. You run a floor. You have to get to know your residents. You have other RAs that you have to deal with. You have supervisors. You have a student coordinator. You have structure like that, right? And you know me, I've always been more of like an introvert kind of guy. I'm becoming a little bit more outroverted, or whatever, however the terminology is for that.
Extrovert, I would believe would be
Extrovert,
the
yeah.
proper term.
But that's changed. I mean, yeah, I still prefer to be inside. I don't talk to that many people, so I don't know if I can give a fair answer to that honestly, other than what I've already mentioned. And California is a very liberal place. The campus of Cal State San Bernardino, where I spend most of my time, that is a very, very, I would say 95% blue. Like I remember during the 2016 election, there was one person in our newsroom at the school paper that was, for Trump. And that was before everything really, really got like extreme, right? And
Yeah.
they would have civil conversations. I don't think that would happen today. I think if you were in a newsroom at the school and one person came in and was like, hey, Trump this, Trump that, they would probably figure out a way to not have that person in that newsroom, to be honest.
Yeah, that extreme, huh?
Yeah. I don't talk politics with anybody on school at all. Even neutral language, I avoid that shit. I avoid it like the plague.
Yeah, because one wrong move lands you on the ground
I mean, not
in
just
one
one
form or
wrong
another.
move, one wrong assumption.
Yeah,
Well, people will already dig in their mind, and you're set in stone in their mind of who you are based off of that.
yeah. Even if they're completely wrong, but just one misrepresentation of a sentence, one wrong word,
Right. Yeah, and
and
that's either side.
people
I'm
will
not
have
saying that's
this
just
whole narrative designed in their mind.
yeah, I'm not saying it's just one sided. I'm not saying it's just, Democrats or liberals or anything like that. I've
Oh
seen it
no,
happen the other
everybody
way
does.
around too. Yeah, no, but I just wanted to clarify out there in case somebody's like, fuck this guy. He's fucking like, talking shit about these fucking left guys. But no, I've seen it that way. I mean, I know a lot of people at school that are diehard Democrats. I know a very small handful of people that are conservatives, Republicans, right wing, whatever you want to call them. I get along with both of them because I don't put my hand in the sugar pot on either side. You
Yeah,
know, I wake up, I take my one good shit a day, I do my work, I help people out, I eat 3 meals a day, and I go to sleep. And that's life to me. I don't do anything else other than that. Help somebody if they need it.
yeah,
That's about it.
yeah. I can respect that. Okay. So deviating from the political atmosphere, what would you say in terms of like infrastructure, quality of life, and whatnot? I'm hearing a lot of stuff about California having the highest unemployment, highest homelessness. You're saying, you need, in your hometown in particular, you need more sidewalks and stuff like that. Um, what would you say is the overall picture of California in terms of its infrastructure? Is it as bad as people are letting on? Is it worse? Is it better? What would be California in terms of these variables? What's the from the perspective of somebody on the ground who's there, living it every day? would you say that it's a good place to live, a bad place to live? I mean, just here's the ball, run with it.
I mean that's somewhat a hard question because like I primarily have two, maybe arguably three areas that I usually spend my time at here in California. My hometown, San Bernardino, where I go to school, and then you can argue the in between point where I catch the bus back and forth between the two. I spend a lot of time there. As far as like safety goes, here where my home is in my town, I feel safe. If I were to go outside of my area, and you know the areas I'm talking about, like if I went over to the next town and went up the the main, I don't want to pinpoint streets or anything like that, but you go down the main strip in the next town over, you know which one I'm talking about. You go downtown at midnight, fucking scary as shit, man. And I've done it before. My power chair coming back from the karaoke bars back in the day. You know, it's scary. Yeah, you go past some of the parks, you go past the hospital. It's scary shit, man. I don't know why I would even go down there at midnight other than like I had to because like I had to get home, right? But you know, that's just me. I'm fucking stupid that way. You know, all I did was carry myself with a flashlight and a fucking knife. You know, that was my defense.
Hey, you do what you got to do, right?
But infrastructure, yeah, you know, here in home, you know, in hometown, we need a lot of stuff fixed. There's a lot of roads that need to be fixed. We need sidewalks where there's not sidewalks. We need sidewalks that are broken. We need them fixed. Bus stops. I am a firm believer that every single bus stop, no matter where it's at, should have a shelter. It should have sidewalk that could accommodate anybody with a wheelchair or a walker or a motorized cart. I hate these bus stops where when you get off, the sidewalk is just enough for like the ramp to come down on it, and then like the wheelchairs come off of it into the dirt. There should be twice as much space, twice as much sidewalk to cover coming off of the ramp. Nobody thinks about that kind of stuff.
And you think that they would, considering Hemet and San Jacinto used to be senior communities. You know, the Banning, Beaumont, Hemet, San Jacinto, even Marietta and Temecula to some extent used to be primarily senior communities until the economic boom happened and they built all those houses. But these communities used to be primarily senior communities. I mean, Banning and Beaumont, I don't know if they even have a Regal there. Don't they still just have the old Fox Theater there? Or have they like built up?
There's a new movie theater in Beaumont across the street from the Walmart, but it's like independently owned.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, you know, even back in the day, and to some degree even now, these were primarily senior communities. And even if their families stayed local, you know, in the 80s and 90s, eventually,
how many of those seniors were using? How many of those seniors were using public transportation, though?
I don't know. I mean, they always had in Beaumont and Banning, they have the local buses that ran from Cabazon to the east end of Beaumont or the west end of Beaumont. And then in Hemet, you had the RTA, the Riverside Transit Authority, and they covered all of Hemet and most of the Inland Empire, depending on what buses you took. And they probably maybe even got more now.
I mean, they've in the last 3 years have gotten rid of quite a few routes, and they've introduced something called the Go Micro, which is like a hybrid public bus dial-a-ride. You can make a reservation at an old existing bus stop and go there at a certain time. They'll pick you up, take you to another place. I hate that system, but I like it at the same time. I have a hate-love relationship with it. My favorite route was the 32 because I could pretty much go anywhere in town on the 32 on both ends. They got rid of that. But my question earlier, though, was like how many people were using that in the seniors? You know, how many of those use public transportation versus seniors that were either stuck at the retirement home or they had their family take them around, that kind of stuff. I don't think public transportation of buses were used that much for seniors to warrant any of the bus stops, you know, having that kind of stuff nowadays. Whereas now it's more than just walkers and wheelchairs. I mean, families with strollers. I see a lot. I go on the bus and there's broken bus stops, and there's families trying to push their strollers in the dirt and the broken concrete and that kind of stuff. And they're struggling because they got like 5 kids on the outside. There's one in the stroller, there's one in their arms. They got to fold the stroller up and that kind of shit, and if it's raining, it's muddy. If, there's no shelters, like they need to fix that kind of shit in my book.
Yeah, I would agree. Are there any other areas that you would say would need attention? Just based on your initial observation in the areas that you occupy?
I think
Because
Park
if
Hill
it's
needs.
bad somewhere, it's probably bad somewhere else too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I don't want to name places, but in this one I have to do it. Park Hill, I think, needs sidewalks on both sides all around the entire mountain. I think that's a safety issue.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Park
that's
Hill
for
was
sure.
really bad. They didn't even have really a pull off on Park Hill. And granted, it's not that big of a road, and it just goes around the mountain. I mean, you could cover that in a car in like a minute and a half.
Right.
But for somebody on foot, especially given that it's in the middle of like residential areas, you would need something like that, sidewalks, or at least enough space off the road to where you're not walking your stroller or your power chair or whatever in the middle of the street.
Right. And Park Hill separates like a lot of the brand new homes to Old Town Hemet.
Yeah.
I think they got rid of a lot of bus routes. I think there should be one at least that kind of goes in between that area. Bring us from, Saboba Casino up to Florida Avenue. There should be a bus that way. There's a lot more inside of Hemet itself. 79, 74, that kind of stuff goes all the way down to like Temecula and Marietta, those kind of areas. You got 31 that goes from MSJC to Moreno Valley that cuts also through Beaumont. There's nothing in between anymore. Their answer to that was Go Micro. And Go Micro is bullshit because like I could try to make a reservation the day before for something and there's nothing available, that I'm screwed. So then I'd have to call Dial-A-Ride, and if it's after 5 p.m., I can't do shit.
Yeah. So
They
more
need to do better.
efficiency for sure. Better infrastructure, more efficiency.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then like during my time where I spend in like San Bernardino, like I've seen homeless here in San Jacinto and Hemet. I've seen a lot more in San Bernardino, especially down on Court Street. That, I mean, it's cleaned up a little bit from 5-10 years ago, but there's still issues there. You go to the transit center downtown San Bernardino, there's a lot of issues there. They just need to fix that kind of stuff. And going back to like the Prop 50 thing, like the money that was used for all of that, it could have been used to help fix that kind of stuff. Other bigger cities like LA, I can't remember the last time I was in LA. It's probably been over 10 years. I can't answer that. I know in San Diego, where the Greyhound station is, that's a very dangerous and scary spot. It's literally in San Diego's version of Skid Row. I got dropped off there at 5 p.m. one time when I went down there for TwitchCon, and literally across the street was like just tent on top of tent on top of tent. People ride their bikes around, just nothing but homeless people, and it was kind of scary. And then coming back, I had to be there at like 5 a.m. It's still dark out, and the only thing separating you from all that is like a little 2-foot gate around the waiting area on outside, because the Greyhound station isn't like a station. It's like a booth with outdoor seating to wait.
Kind of like the one in Beaumont.
I don't remember the one at Beaumont. I don't even think it's
just a small little
on 6th Street, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that hasn't been there in a long time.
Yeah, but it was kind of like that, though.
I would say it was a little bit more of an improvement than the Beaumont one, because the Beaumont one was like, it looked like a little shop. There was no really any waiting outside except for like maybe a park bench outside the main window or something.
Okay, so a moderate improvement.
Yeah, I mean, you had a 2-foot gate circuit, around you in San Diego. That's an improvement.
Yeah.
Well, anybody can hop over that. I can hop over that.
Don't try that. I don't want to have to get you out of the mud again.
Hey, I'm the webmaster. Welcome to Jackass. This is the wheelchair hop.
Yeah, Brady Den blames it on the Jays. We know what he's alluding to. He wants me to press my button. He wants me to press my evil button. I didn't tell you about that, did I?
No, I'm lost on this one.
Okay. Basically, society likes to blame everything on a certain ethnic group. Especially in the activist community, they like to blame everything on a certain ethnic or religious group. And to counter that, we came up with a certain button that I pressed just to fuck with the stereotype that everything is this political or religious group's fault.
All right.
So we're just gonna say for Brady Den, here's your Jew button. Yeah. Because that's just kind of the common consensus anymore. It's like all anybody wants to talk about. It's like there are other issues in the world that need to be discussed. It's not just this. And it's not even wholly this. Just stop blaming everything on this group. We are not Nazi Germany. We are not going that route. Stop doing it. So that is my counter protest. So I made a button that is kind of like Pee-wee's Playhouse word of the day kind of thing.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And I think Brady Den went, yay! He feels happy. He feels vindicated. Glad I can make your day, Brady. Brady's actually
Shout out to Brady.
Brady's actually a friend of mine. He's cool people.
Right on.
But unfortunately, that topic does come up a lot, and we kind of made it into a running gag. Just kind of like the Meth Monster Blue. Alex Jones has a product called Methylene Blue. It's actually really good. It's a supplement, and I take it. It helps me out, but sometimes when you go over the top with things, you gotta rib a little bit.
Yeah, of course. It makes the world go round, just like titties.
Yeah, titties are great.
Titties are amazing. I got to see some titties this morning.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you would like to add? Any other thoughts or any other direction you would like to take this?
I guess to wrap up, me voting no on Prop 50 wasn't really, it's not about supporting one party or another. It's more about preserving democratic integrity, keeping the power in the voters' hands, and resisting short-term partisan solutions that kind of undermine the fair process, pretty much.
Yeah. Would there be anything you would want to say to the general demographic, especially to that particular demographic, in regards to how things were handled and what should have probably happened? How things should have been approached in that matter?
I mean, we've kind of already touched up on it. I don't think Prop 50 should have been on the ballot. I think that time, effort, and money could have went elsewhere. That's pretty much it, that's said what I had to say about it.
So there was really nothing that needed to be done in response to what happened in Texas. It's just, okay, this was their time. They actually just didn't handle their shit when they should have, and were forced to handle it. Your turn's coming up. Handle it when you got to handle it.
Yeah, California, like I said, California's reaction was a knee-jerk reaction. What was the point of doing it? Why? So because California could be like, oh my God, he did it, so we get to do it too, and that's child's play. That's stupid.
It is. And Brady, yes, this is the wrestling guy. This is the gentleman that got me into the wrestling business. Brady is a huge wrestling fan. In fact, he and I sat down the other day. He made the last Cena match readily available to me, and I was able to watch that. And again, thank you, Brady, for that. But yes,
That's
this
right.
is the man. This is
Yep, I am.
this is Wade. Wade Needham of Ring Scoops.
I am that ring scoops guy.
You are. And you and I have had quite a journey in the business, and we've been friends since we were kids. Just to give people an idea, this guy would freaking power bomb me in the grass in his backyard when we were like 10, 11 years old.
I don't know if I ever power bombed you, but I know that I locked you in the sharpshooter a few times.
You did. You did. And I think, between you, me, and all the other kids in the neighborhood, we had our own little indie fed going. We were doing the backyard wrestling thing before backyard wrestling was a thing. One
We
of
had
my
a lot of fun with that.
memories was writing Vince McMahon challenging him to put his company on the line, us versus him.
Hey, who's having the last laugh now, right? Who's
Yeah.
still operating? You and I.
Exactly.
I mean,
And I
It goes
honestly
for
do
something.
miss being a part of the business. And, maybe I need to get in touch with some of the indie feds out here. But I haven't even really watched wrestling in years, mainly because my focus is this, between work, this, and just handling day-to-day life. I
right.
hadn't even really watched wrestling in years. If it hadn't been for Brady, I probably wouldn't even be up to speed on hardly anything.
I don't watch as often as I do now. Monday Night Raw used to be must see TV for me, but they went to Netflix this year. I watched maybe like the first 3 months, and then I canceled Netflix for financial reasons. Got Netflix again about a month ago. I watch Raw every week now. SmackDown, to me, I can miss it and still not really miss anything important if I don't watch it for 3 weeks or so. For me, as far as wrestling goes, the must-see TV is now what they call premium live events now, which we used to call pay-per-views.
Yeah.
Luckily, with my Spectrum, I get ESPN Plus, and I get Peacock with it too. I don't have to pay extra with that shit.
Yeah,
so.
that's what we were watching the Cena match on, was Peacock.
Yeah, Saturday night's main event is now exclusively on Peacock. That was kind of the deal since they signed with ESPN, and their library is going to go on a hybrid of that and their YouTube channel. Peacock was like, give us something since you're leaving us. And they were like, you get Saturday night's main event, starting with Cena's retirement match, which probably pulled a lot of numbers.
Yeah. And probably lost a lot of numbers after the fact.
Oh man, social media was going nuts over that. A lot of people overanalyzing it. A lot of people overreacting.
Yeah.
He went out the way he came in. He tapped out in his first match.
Oh, Wade caught it. And Brady just asked, what did you think of the match if you caught it?
I loved it. I thought it was a wrestling masterpiece, and it was a nice gift. It wasn't like when they did John Cena versus Ron Killings back in May on Saturday night's main event. We knew what that was going to be, right? It was a blow-off match. It was fun to watch. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it. But it wasn't like what we would expect out of John Cena, like a full blown-out effort kind of John Cena match. But what we got with John Cena versus Gunther was a John Cena pay-per-view match. We got multiple attitude adjustments. We got multiple power bombs. We got Cena kicking out. We got Gunther kicking out. We got a table spot. We got all that. We told a very interesting, they told a very interesting story in the ring. John Cena never give up, that kind of stuff, but then he tapped out, right? And Shayna Baszler put it best on Twitter last night. There's a difference between quitting and tapping out. Quitting is having no heart, no effort, or any of that kind of stuff, and you leave it, right?
Yeah.
Cena tapped out, not because he was quitting, but because he knew that he couldn't go any further. He was trapped. When you play chess, you get checkmate. You're not quitting. There's just no other way out of it. And that was John Cena. The look of euphoria on his face before he tapped, right, is just like when people are on their deathbed and they get that spark of life temporarily, and they're just booming for about a day or so, and then they pass away the next day.
Yeah.
That was John Cena in that match. And then
Brady wants to know, did the writers ruin his heel run, or did John not have the character?
Well, before I get into that, because I do want to address that, they gave us a gift in that match. And the bow on top, the little ribbon, the shininess, the little tag that says, "From us to you," came from Michael Cole in commentary. And Michael Cole said, "Tonight, professional wrestling killed sports entertainment." And
Fair.
John Cena was the representative of sports entertainment. And Gunther is the representative of professional wrestling. And
So you
I
would
think
say
that was
that the era of sports entertainment is done.
100%. What we have been conditioned to from Vince McMahon for the last 40 years is completely over now. Think about it. Creations of Vince that were pushed to the extreme of a John Cena are not there anymore. Triple H, but he's running the show, right? Undertaker's gone. Shawn is gone. I mean, he's running NXT. When I mean gone, I mean like as an active competitor in the ring, right? The Rock, he's not coming back and doing a full-time schedule. We probably won't even see another Rock match ever again. I think he's done. I'm fine with it too. I think he did his job at WrestleMania 40. We don't need to see him in the ring anymore. He passed the flame right there. Cody's the guy. Cody is not a Triple H creation, though. Cody created himself. He left the company and built himself up to get to where he's at right now. But he has that lineage going all the way back with his brother Dustin, Gold Dust, and his dad Dusty Rhodes, who Triple H heavily respects because of the lineage of professional wrestling. That's where we're at right now. Yeah, Vince McMahon didn't create any of these top stars that you see in the WWE right now. Vince didn't create Cody. He didn't create Gunther. He didn't even really create CM Punk. CM Punk was kind of a product of his own guy that just happened to get along with the environment that he was in at the time.
Yeah, it just happened to work. And
exactly.
For those watching, yes, this is a political podcast, but we do try to include you in the conversation. The big thing about these shows, Tin Man TV, the Roundtable, is that you are a part of the conversation. And yes, the conversation has gotten off of politics into wrestling because somebody in the comments wanted to know, because Wade Needham has a huge background in wrestling, naturally. So, but it's also fun to take a bit of a detour and have a little bit of levity and just have a real conversation also. So, because, we can get caught up in the political arena, or we can get caught up in this or that. But if we lose our semblance of humanity and just to be able to sit back and go and take a little side detour for a few minutes and just shoot the shit and have a real conversation, what's the point of what we do? What's the point of being a political activist if you are completely disconnected from what it means to be human and have a human conversation?
Right. Yeah. You got to go outside the bubble once in a while. I mean, that's why I go to Disneyland once a month. I say, screw life, screw school, screw work. I go to Disneyland for like 6 hours once a month, and I blow off some steam, man. And that does wonders for my mental health.
Disneyland, honestly, I would love Disneyland. Brady says, I don't know. The Rumble is in Saudi. They gonna offer big cash for the legends.
Right. No, and you do bring up a good point. But to answer your previous question, do you think the writers ruined the heel run, or did John not have the character for this? John has the character for it. Cena didn't fuck up. The writers fucked up. The Rock admitted that he fucked up. The Rock came in and said, let's turn him heel. And John Cena was like, fuck it, let's do it. But they didn't have an end goal for it. They didn't write out what they were going to do with it. I was entertained for the most part with the heel turn. I think we got some good stuff out of it. The Never Seen 17, that slogan is genius. Marketing like lightning in a bottle with that one. The Never Seen 17. Him coming out without the Titantron. It was just black and white that just said John Cena on it. I thought that was genius. It was reminiscent of the NWO in a way, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Did they have direction? No, they did not. They turned the course on it at SummerSlam when he had that match with Cody, and Cody brought the best out of him, and Cena turned face again. And John Cena obviously is a better face than a heel, and I think we're conditioned because we saw 20 out of the 23 years of his career as a babyface. It's all we know. But don't get it wrong. If you ever watch his stuff in OVW and you watch his early stuff in WWE, yeah, he could carry a heel role. That's for sure. So it wasn't on John. It was on the writing team on that one. And then about the Rumble in Saudi. No, you're right. It is in Saudi. Saudi has, in the past, offered big cash for legends. But think about it. From 2018 to right now, the availability of certain legends. In 2018, Shawn was able to kind of still go. Undertaker was still actively competing. Goldberg was still competing. Goldberg's retired. John Cena's retired. Triple H, if he took a bump, have a heart attack and die, he can't perform. Shawn is like, 60 now? Or he's 59? Yeah. He's going to be 60 this July?
I mean, even when we saw him in Vegas 10 years ago, yeah, he still had his good look.
Right.
But, just because you got a good paint job doesn't mean that everything under the hood's operating properly.
Exactly. And then think about the other legends, right? Because we can't, those are legends of the 90s that we were talking about. Now they get to the 2000s, because obviously we've jumped up almost 10 years, right? So you get legends of the 2000s. Batista's retired. He's not going to do it. He's making enough money in Hollywood. He doesn't need Saudi money. John Cena just retired. Randy Orton will probably still go, but he's not. He's a legend, but he's still active. It's somebody that we still see somewhat on a regular basis, same as Brock Lesnar. That class
he's
of
not
OVW.
Quite Hall of Fame yet.
No, not yet, because he's still wrestling and everything. But that class of OVW talent from 2002, the only other person and that's not in the discussion that should be in the discussion is Shelton Benjamin, who came up in that class. I mean, his former partner, Charlie Haas, doesn't even wrestle anymore. Shelton Benjamin, I don't watch AEW, but he's tearing it up in AEW right now. With, it's not the Hurt Business. They got another name for it since they can't use that or anything like that. But think about the people, are you going to bring back Bob Holly in the Royal Rumble? CM Punk came back. He's still active. He's probably the biggest name of the 2000s right now. Daniel Bryan, he's semi-retired, but he's got a contract with AEW. Adam Copeland, Edge, he's got a contract with AEW. You can bring Jericho back. There's rumors Jericho's contract's up this month, and he can go back to WWE. And he hasn't wrestled for them since, 2018? But is Jericho going to move the needle? No, he's not. No. Ironically, right? Because when AEW came on the scene, they did the whole Roman Reigns, Jericho move the needle thing. There's nobody to throw big cash at.
Not really. I mean, you could send the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, our good buddy, over there, and he can give him a 3-hour sermon and bore him to death. Love Ted DiBiase to death. It was great to meet him. He's a great guy. But you do need intermissions.
Oh, that man knows how to talk.
You give him a microphone, he will talk all day. Love him to death, though. Great guy.
Earlier when you were talking about our background with each other, right? Growing up as kids and watching wrestling, and then we got into the wrestling business and that kind of stuff. Now, what we're doing now, and you bring up Ted DiBiase, it's the same thing. I remember when I was a kid, I would go on holidays and rent Royal Rumble and WrestleMania tapes at the video store. And my Uncle George and I would sit in the living room and we'd watch wrestling like crazy, right? And One
Yeah.
thing I always remember was like how many times we watched the 1990 Royal Rumble and the amount of time that the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, spent in that match, almost an hour. And we were always like, oh, get him out of there, man. Screw Ted DiBiase. We hated him, man.
Yeah.
2012, my buddy DA and I driving Ted DiBiase around town for 3 days straight and just picking his brain. And I told him, I said, Ted, when I was 7, man, I hated you. My uncle and I would watch you on tapes, and we hated you. And he said, thank you. And I understood what he meant by that. He did his job.
Yeah.
Now, as a kid and as a teenager, I wouldn't have never understood that. But being in the business and being an analyst and, that kind of stuff and a researcher and wrestling, a historian, that's the biggest compliment you can give a guy like Ted DiBiase is, hey, when I was a kid, I hated the shit out of you. He said, thank you. I picked his brain. Because of him, I'm freaking addicted to iced caramel macchiatos at Starbucks.
He did love those. Like, how many of those did he have when it was you, me, and DA? Like, I think he had like 3 when I was hanging out. Like,
we would pick him
up.
We'd pick him up at the hotel, go to Starbucks next to it. He'd grab one. And then on the way back, he would drink one. And then when we got back to the hotel, we would swing by Starbucks again and get another one. Yeah, he was on those.
When he was giving that sermon at that church, like, I know he had one before, and I believe he had one at the church. And then he had one on the way back.
One of my favorite things about when Ted DiBiase was there and we were doing that show in Ontario at one of the churches was because we did I think 3 matches during the intermission at his sermon, and we were hanging out backstage, and I remember Chowder was walking around and he found the catering, we got some tacos and stuff, but he came back, he goes, guys, I opened up a door and just walked right into a room, and Ted DiBiase was sitting there on his knees praying, and he had to hurry up and get out of there and close the door, and DiBiase was like, oh. That was one of my favorite weird off the wall fucking stories, Chowder walking in on DiBiase.
You and I have got a lot of stories, some of which we can't talk about, but
right,
got to respect the collar.
Yeah, I miss my time working in wrestling, but I also don't miss it at the same time. I don't think I will ever work another show again. One, my heart's not in it. Second, I don't like the environment. Wrestling has definitely changed a lot. Wrestling has killed my momentum for a lot of things in life in general. But it's also
it's almost like, and it's hard to cut you off, but it kind of feels like the magic at Disneyland, but then you go and see how everything works behind the scenes, and then the magic's gone.
That too, and you combine that with just getting old. Like John Cena just retired, right? At the end of an era. You're never going to see a guy like that. For me, I think what ignited the change in my view of being a fan of wrestling was the night that Shawn Michaels retired. Knowing that I would never see Shawn Michaels compete again, it took a lot of magic and excitement away from me because I did not have an emotional investment in another wrestler like I did with Shawn Michaels. Yeah. So to know that he wasn't there anymore, that kind of killed it for me a little bit.
Yeah, between me, you, and my sister, that was like a triadic love affair of Shawn Michaels. He was just awesome. He had it all.
He did. And think about this too. With Shawn, he got a second chance, not only in life, but in wrestling. He had 2 careers. He had the career from 85 to 98. And then he took 4 years off. He came back in 2002 and wrestled again until 2010. That was his second career. He came back and he was much better in the ring. He was much better outside of the ring. He actually matured. He became a locker room leader. He inspired. He did everything that he should have done in the 90s.
Yeah, and like Brady was just saying, Shawn's working as a booker in NXT now, and he wants to know if Shawn is a better booker than Hunter.
I don't know if I could say one person is a better booker than the other. I think Triple H handled the NXT roster very well. I was a big fan of when Triple H had the book in NXT when it was the black and gold brand. Adam Cole was my all-time favorite in NXT at that time. Then they did NXT 2.0, and that kind of killed a lot of things. Braun Breaker came out of that. That's a big thing. Sean running NXT now, and they brought it back to its roots in a way. But Sean's spin on it, I like a lot. We've got a lot of good characters coming out of that. A lot of good talent as well. Sol Ruka, that's somebody to keep your eye on. Sol Ruka, she is amazing. Tin Man, I don't know if you've ever seen her finishing maneuver, the Soul Snatcher.
I have.
Okay. Fucking athletic, amazing, gets a pop. Fucking great move, man. She's got a good look. She's got a lot of charisma. She could talk. And she's only been doing this like 3 years.
Yeah. I'm surprised our old friend Hudson Empey really didn't try for any of that and just went to Japan. I mean, from what I see from her, she really could go. At least from what I've seen of her in ring and, having sparred with her. Yes, I've sparred with big names. Almost had my head wind up somewhere it shouldn't have, but that's what I get for not ducking low enough when she tried to jump over me.
I still got the footage of you running the ropes and then running into the corner and looking like a fly on a spider web.
Where I slipped.
Yeah.
Do you have any of the actual training that I did? Like when Jesse had me training?
No, I think at that time, when I was recording anything, I think it was probably a one night thing, and it was probably recording for Slade.
Yeah. You were doing a lot of promotion for Slade back then. A lot of work for him.
I was kind of pushing him a little bit because, like he and I were friends before he got in the business, obviously. Like, he was dating my cousin. We met in 2008. And he would come over for pay-per-view parties. We would go to the EWF shows before we both got in. And then I got in. And he was always saying at the shows, he was like, I'm about these guys' size, if not a little bit bigger. I could probably do it. And I pushed him. But finally one day, I told him, I said, shit, get off the pot, bro. You want me to introduce you to Jesse? And he was like, all right. So I brought the two together, and the rest is history on that. And Slade has put in a shit ton of hard work. He's developed a character that he's doing nowadays that is just something that I've never seen in wrestling. It's very creative. He's got a great mind for the business. He was always very athletic. He took to, working in the ring very quick. Out of everybody that started that night, he was the first one to debut. He come from the class of, Viking Warrior, Uptown Andy Brown, and another person who I refuse to say their name because they're a piece of shit human being. And then you were also part of that class as well, Jesse. Let you train a couple times there. Yeah. And then, of course, there was Bad Bone. Bad Bone was there that night, too.
Yeah, Bad Bone.
Remember Bad Bone? I remember him shitting himself there at training.
I wasn't going to bring it up. I didn't want to embarrass the guy, but... again, some things we talk about, some things we don't. And
that dude was weird, man. Every time we saw him, Bad Bone, every time we saw him, he had that backpack, and in his backpack, he had a dumbbell, an Xbox 360, and like 4 gallons of water.
I mean, I can understand the water.
Right. And the barbell, kind of.
If you want to do some curls or whatnot, just...
Yeah.
But I never understood the Xbox. You're there to train. Why the hell are you bringing your Xbox?
Well, he didn't have the cables or power for it either. It was just the console by itself.
Yeah, I never understood that. It's like, why? Why are you doing this?
I don't know. Maybe
you can put in the bag.
Maybe the backpack was his home. I mean, we don't know.
I don't know. He's like just crawls in the bag and just hides behind the dumpster.
I know we're
one last question. I promise. What do you think of Obafemi and Javon Evans?
Javon Evans, that dude, man, that dude can fly around the ring. He put a little bit more meat on him. I think he'll be a fantastic competitor in the WWE. I think he's got all the right tools. the beef that he and Ricochet had on Twitter, like fuck Ricochet, man, fuck you, Ricochet, man. The Javon Evans putting in a lot of hard work. Ricochet, you're just a salty fucking uncle fucker, bro. Uh, Obafemi,
Damn, I miss this shit.
Obafemi, the dude Obafemi is like, yeah, he's got everything you want, man. He's got the size, he's got the look. He could talk when he needs to talk. Since he's a big guy, he doesn't necessarily need to bump, right? So when he works
Yeah.
in the ring, when you do see him bump, he bumps well, especially for a big guy. And I was surprised actually when he went face to face with Drew, and Drew was like 2 inches taller than him because I thought Obafemi was like 6'6", 6'7", and I know Drew I think is like 6'5", so Oba's got to be like 6'4" maybe in all reality. But
Yeah.
yeah, Obafemi's got it, man. Like that's your next guy right there. If they ever did a Brock Lesnar retirement tour, with all due respect to a guy like Braun Breaker don't need it. Braun Breaker's over. Paul Heyman's gonna get that fucker over. But
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar could put Obafemi over, man. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Like, and you were talking about his height and whatnot. You got me thinking when we were in Vegas and met Kali, and how you were laughing your ass off at how much taller he was than myself. Because I'm what 6'4", and
Yeah.
Kali just towered over me. I'm like,
There's certain
damn.
guys that you can see them on TV and you know they're fucking huge. Like at that same time, I think that same event we met Mark Henry, and
Yeah.
sitting next to him, I was like, holy shit, Mark Henry is it, man. Like that's the
is.
guy. He's fucking huge.
He is.
Yeah. I see in the chat there, Brady's talking about there's rumors of Brock Lesnar retirement tour at SummerSlam is going to be against Gunther. I could see that. I could see Gunther being put over by Brock Lesnar. It'll be a big match too. But here's the thing: do you do heel Gunther or do you do face Gunther? Because Brock Lesnar will work either way. I think Brock better heel, but you do a retirement match like that. I mean, I think Gunther's got to be the heel, right? When he's doing this brand new legend killer thing, you got to be hated. But
Yeah.
he might be cheered to be the one to end Brock Lesnar's career, considering how everybody's treating Brock Lesnar in the arenas
Don't mind me, I
nowadays
just have
because
to
of
readjust my wiring.
get a little rewired there, Tin Man.
Okay.
Getting
okay.
your wires restructured like in California over here.
Yeah. Yeah, because I was sitting and I got tangled up. I got the wires tangled up in the chair, so it was pulling out my head. That and I got a fucking
Okay.
trailer horse from hell. So I'm gonna sit like this because sitting here, I got a trailer horse from hell. But yeah, like you were saying, some of these people are larger than life on TV, and when you meet them in person, they're like, damn. And I remember when you were sitting next to Mark Henry and he started ribbing you, it's like, don't you run over my foot, or I'll stomp you into the mud or something like that.
You know
Like,
what? I
he's
think
still-
I think I did run over his foot. To be honest.
Did you? Because I know I was standing right there, and he goes, if you run over my foot, I'm going to flatten you. And that was when he still had his arm in the sling.
Yeah, I still got the photo, the screenshot because we made WWE.com.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we were on WWE.com. I think if you type in that URL and search those photos, I think we're still probably there.
Maybe, perhaps. I know I have a screenshot saved somewhere. You know how many times I've made it on WWE's like website or socials? Like when they did the stand up for WWE campaign and Vince McMahon read my letter on YouTube, like I did that. I came back from school that day and my Twitter was blowing up and everybody was like, "Wait, Vince McMahon," and I was like, "Wait, what?" And they were like, "Yeah, Vince read your story." And I'm like, "Get the fuck out of here!" I got that video
Okay.
too.
Yeah, I mean, you brought me into the business, and I mean that I think really solidified me in terms of media and what I do because you brought me into the business and I wound up as a ringside cameraman. I'm running around, I'm doing all kinds of shit with the camera. and doing setup, and then we expand. We're doing our own little podcasts and little shows like We Want to Know. I still have those few episodes we did.
Yeah.
And then we wind up going and doing things like running Ted DiBiase around, you, me, and Dennis, and you and me going to Vegas for the announcement of the WWE Network, where we got to meet all the superstars like Ali, Mark Henry, Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, Cena.
And that trip came out of like a 48-hour period because out of a whim, I sent an email to WWE's RSVP thing and was like, ticket for 2 ring scoops. And they got back to me on that. And then I remember hitting you up. And then so I don't know how we did it, but we got round trip megabus tickets for $6.
Yeah.
And then because I usually use a PCA, so like you rode for free. Because Megabus had that thing where people in wheelchairs get to ride with somebody for free, if they brought an extra person. And then I had that deal at the Orleans Hotel where we stayed the one night for like $30. Like we did that whole thing for less than $50.
Your ass up and down the trip.
Well, I was sick as a dog, remember? I was throwing up. Yeah. I had diarrhea, all that shit, man. I had a high fever.
That was a bad day for you. For sure.
It was. And one of the saving graces of that was when they were doing hors d'oeuvres and you went over and you got me one of those egg afrittatas and a screwdriver. Because like the orange juice, the vitamin C pepped me up and then the vodka killed whatever was in my stomach.
Yeah. and I told you it would.
Yeah. It did wonders.
I know what I know.
Hell yeah, man. Because you was the Tin Man.
Hell yeah.
We're crazy, boys.
Hey, Tin Man is crazy. I'm a cold, heartless son of a bitch when I need to be, too.
Yeah.
You've seen that.
Keep you away from the deep fryer.
You promised not to tell. But yeah, like, I think my experience with you and the media and working in the business, I think despite the fact that I was already doing the political activism thing to a point, and had some experience with media and whatnot, I think that just kind of really was what solidified it for me. And just be like, okay, this is my world. This is who I am. And I loved wrestling ever since I was a kid, so that just made it that much better. But I don't think I would be where I am now, with the setup and the backdrop and everything I have and everything I'm doing, if it weren't for the experience and everything I learned from you and working with the talent that we've worked with.
Man, you put all that work on that one, man.
I think we did do a lot of work, and I've learned a lot.
No, that's all you, bro. Like that's what I'm trying to say. Like you don't have to say nothing like that. Like you don't have to include me in that. You're the one that put in all that work. You earned all that.
Yeah. But where did I learn it from? You got to learn it from somewhere.
You're the Tin Man. It came with you, man. Come on.
I wish I could say that, but I do have to be humble. Learning how to set up studios and all that. That came from working with you in the indie feds. I didn't know how to do that.
We all learn. You learn every day. The day that you feel like you can't learn anymore is probably the day that, you need a kick in the ass.
Yeah. Or the day you die. At least in here.
Yeah. Let's hope that's not going to be anytime soon for either of us.
Right. Still too young for that.
Right. Tin Man, I hate to say it, but I have to head out, bro, because I have to do some stuff.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. This actually lasted a lot longer than I expected it to, but I'm actually glad.
That's what she said.
I'm going to let it go.
That's DA's favorite song.
All right, but we'll let you go. We'll actually go ahead and put an end to this. Real quick, anything you want to add? Anything else you want to plug?
Ringscoops.com if you guys want to check that out. If you guys want to check out any of my stuff. We got the Twitch is like my flagship thing. We go on Twitch every once in a while. I'll be on again, I believe tomorrow night, streaming some games. Once a year, we do a stream fundraiser for Starlight Children's Foundation. We'll probably be doing another one of those in the next couple months, so keep an eye out for that.
Awesome.
And the big thesis is coming out. Will be the defense is public, and I'm going to do it over Zoom. So I'll make sure to get the word out on that, and if anybody wants to attend
Go
that
ahead
as
and
well.
send me the info when you're ready to do that, and I'll plug that on the shows here.
Absolutely, and Tin Man, you've known me for a very long time. You know what my sign off usually is, right?
Go ahead.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Good night. And I got 2 words for you. Fuck Newsom.
I love it. Fucking love it. I fucking hate Newsom.
Chad Bianco. You got my vote.
There you go, brother. Well, it's been great having you on. Anybody who loves wrestling and wants to deep dive into that world, check out ringscoops.com or just Google #ringscoops. It'll bring up all his media. I mean, I don't know what all platforms you have. You have quite a few, but search Ring Scoops or #ringscoops or @ringscoops. You'll find this man right there. This is the man. You want somebody who knows his shit in the wrestling business? It's this man right here. But what is that?
Shout out to the Jaguars. 10-4 right now. 10-4. They're going all the way. And fuck the Chiefs, by the way.
I've never been much for football, but to those who enjoy it, I understand. For me, I just kind of fell into the mentality of giving bread and circuses and they'll never revolt. But even in the business, you're a rebel, man. You a beast. And thank you
rock
for
and roll, on. Man.
Hell yeah. Well, again, thank you so much for having popped on with me, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I'm going to go ahead and call it, guys. If you like this broadcast, by all means, share the feed. Follow us on our social medias, Rumble, YouTube, X, formerly known as Twitter, @RealTWWRN. Also, check out our online store for all sorts of cool TWWRN merch. And thank you for everybody who participated in the show. As I keep saying, it's not just about me. It's not just about the guests. It's about you. Why? Because you are the resistance. So, this Tin Man with the Worldwide Resistance Network, brought to you by this guy here, because he's the one who dubbed me the Tin Man. Yeah. Gotta own the source, right? But this is the Tin Man with the Worldwide Resistance Network. Wade, thank you. And everybody else who participated, thank you. If you're watching this, you are the resistance.